So, Mike, you ever been in that situation where
Right.
you're like totally making out with who you think is your a hologram of your crush? It's not your crush. It's a hologram, so you're totally safe. But then all of a sudden you realize, oh crap, it's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic?
Fever!
It's always better recycled. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. We have been off for a week while Mike did something in Florida. I don't know what.
California.
But we are back to talk about Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 20, His Way. I'm so excited to talk about this episode. Mike, how was it in Milwaukee?
It was fine. So, I told the story a million times, but Jen was supposed to come with me. She couldn't come with me. So I was just working, and better yet, it was a big conference for my company, but, you know, they put the employees to peon work. So it was basically like I was at a Grateful Dead concert, and I was just hawking merch. But even better is that we're changing vendors for all of our merch at work. So we were just trying to get rid of the last year's stuff. We didn't even have new stuff. So I was trying to sell old
You were
stuff.
trying to sell your your company. It's not like cool. It's just like you just
right,
like
but
put your logo on
when
something.
educators go to these conferences, they want to buy the stuff, the swag. Like,
why?
Switch, dude, 9 to 5ers, man. It's 9 to 5ers. Let them live.
It's like I really want a 7-Eleven cup. Like
No, this is this is a big deal. So, and we had some good stuff. We had some good sweatshirts and such. But even better was some of the T-shirts were from like 2023, and so I'm trying to sell at the 2025 conference in Anaheim. I'm trying to sell 2023 like Boston shirts. So anyway, as you may or may not know, I can flip that smarm switch, and I did.
Know.
Oh, I was having the best time, except for the 3 mornings that started at 7 o'clock in the morning, which Pacific time, so like 4 o'clock me time.
No.
Wasn't great, but I did get to go to Disney's California Adventure one night on the company's dime, which was pretty cool. And yeah, then I came home, and then Jen left the day after I came home, so I haven't seen my wife in like 2 weeks.
Wait, where's Jen now?
So she's doing this Carnegie Hall gig, but before she does that, they're sort of workshopping it in Connecticut, so she's there this week.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
She
Well,
very fancy.
yes. We're gonna address it at a very important moment in this episode.
Okay.
But somebody might be performing at Carnegie Hall, and guess what? It ain't these two idiots.
Nope.
But we will be there.
We shall be there. Keith, would you believe that right after I purchased our tickets, because Keith and I, when it comes to my wife, we're always a date.
Committed.
Yeah, we're committed. We're in a committed fandom
we're in a
relationship.
committed couple
Yeah.
showing up at Jen's things. That's
Yes.
right.
Literally the day after, Keith.
Yeah, they offered to come.
They sure did.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're happy to support.
I mean, that is the difference between you and me. I will wait for comps until intermission of the show before I actually...
Look, I support that, but even the possibility of missing her Carnegie Hall debut would have have destroyed my whole, what do you call it, marriage.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, it's like right on or about my anniversary, so I had to make it happen. Keith, all this is to say.
Yeah.
Actually, none of it's to say. I'm segueing out. I had a great time. Excited to talk about the episode. Did not know we were going straight MTV episode. Like, this is a straight sitcom, rom-com episode. We'll talk all about it.
It's a musical.
It's a musical. Yeah, they definitely paid for the rights for some specific songs, so they played them in their entirety. We'll talk all about it.
It's crazy. I love it. But here's, like, spoiler alert, and I know this is a controversial episode. I love it. So we're going to get into it.
I will hold my opinion, but I will say this. Okay. I will spoil this at the top. Yeah. This was my favorite watch-along stream we've done.
Really?
The vibes were high. Keith and I talked about this. The week off sort of was very refreshing. It was great to see everybody. There was 2 people on the stream. I went to use the bathroom before the stream started. I came back down, There was like 10 people again. And some new patrons. It was just good vibes in there. I had a great night watching this episode. And then I thought about the episode for about 24 hours. So now we're going to talk about the episode so much his way here. I can't wait to get into it because I really want to know about this guy, whom apparently was like an honorary Rat Pack member who I had seen. Oh, that's the other thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm off the rails. I had seen customs of this. I had seen it in our opening bumpers and such. I've been waiting for the Vic Fontaine episode.
Yes.
And then it slapped me upside the head when I wasn't even expecting it.
Well, that's the best part.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. Because you kept asking, when are we gonna see this? When are we gonna see this? Well, we saw it.
So many questions, observations, and just jam. I just want to jam. I just want to vibe out.
Well, I mean, honestly, we talked about it. Like having a week off, I think is good to refresh the brain. So we might start taking a week off every couple of months. Like every 2 months, we might take a week off just to like refresh the neurons.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's not like we're
super
busy,
fun.
But you know.
Yeah, of course. But before we get into any of that, we have a lot to talk about.
It's a good thing I put the dog in daycare today because
we're gonna be here a while. Because last week
my beard is gray.
In the pale moonlight, and the patrons and everybody else had a lot to say about it. So buckle in, get a snack. Here we go. Joshua Cronin says this is a beauty. This is storytelling. This is suspense. This is surprise. This is Deep Space Nine and why I fell in love with it over 30 years ago, because of how deep it gets. How can you not want to binge the entire rest of the series after this? Sisko and Garrick are amazing actors, probably the best in all Trek. I would be sad if you didn't give this 100, because that's what I gave it. 100 self-sealing stem bolts times 2. Joshua Cronin. Jason Moe, I think, without having actually read all the way through everything here, the only person who did not give this 100 self-sealing stem bolts, Jason Moe says, I'm going to be a little bit contrarian.
I have to say, you know what? Before you even read it, because I'm going to make my best attempt to let these all be read without me interrupting, as I tend to do.
Unlikely.
I got to tell you, Jason, I've been digging your heel turn lately. He's been, right? He's been coming in as the sort of I don't want to say pessimist, but he's been checking everybody with like our unbridled glee for some of these episodes. He's the one who's given counterpoint, and you know what? It needs to be done, and I appreciate it.
Jason, is that a pseudonym for John Cena?
We can't see him. We can't see him. Oh, so many deep cuts. But anyway, yes, thank you. And also, while we're throwing out thank yous, you know, I'll save it for the patron day. Forget it. Go ahead.
All right. So
he thought he could get a sip of his Mountain Dew, but he was wrong.
Yeah, you know what it is? When I'm talking, that's when it interrupts. When I'm trying to drink, shuts. Instant mute. I should learn about that in real life.
Cool your jets, baby.
So Jason tries to say
that was me. That was my Vic Fontaine.
Your Dick Fontaine over there.
My Dick Plantain? Gross.
What's a baby plantain? All right. This is gonna be a mess. Not only we haven't done an episode in 2 weeks, we haven't talked in 2 weeks.
Have I turned anything on? Yeah, are we rolling? Okay.
Jason says, I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian here and play devil's advocate. Is In the Pale Moonlight a fantastic episode of television?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is it a very, very good episode of Star Trek? Undoubtedly. It is the second greatest episode of any Star Trek series, the greatest episode of Deep Space Nine, the absolute pinnacle against all of which Deep Space Nine episodes should be measured? Not even close, in my opinion. Why? Because the best episode of a TV series can't be the one that flies in the face of what the rest of the series aspires to be. I feel like many people love this episode primarily because it's so dark and forces Sisko, and by extension Starfleet, to basically break their own moral code. While that makes for a good drama, I don't love that for Sisko. To me, his final line reading of "I can live with it" isn't a definitive declaration that he can't. I still hear a slight question in his voice, and that I interpret that to mean he's still trying to convince himself that he can live with it, which I appreciate as someone who prefers the optimistic side of Star Trek. It's that interpretation of that line that basically leaves a little bit of hope and therefore saves this episode for me. Anyway, just my opinion, which I know I will be in the minority. You know what, though? I agree with you in the meta, right? Why do I have a hard time with Discovery? Because it's all episodes are this, right? And that this episode would not be so impactful if it didn't, the darkness does not exist without the light, right? And the balance of the light and the dark within Trek is very, very important. And Trek, by definition, is light. And then you interject the salt, the darkness here and there where it's necessary and when it's great for storytelling. Whereas, some of like Discovery was just dark and bleak all the time, so that it's if you just put too much salt on everything tastes like salt, and you don't actually taste the flavor of the thing. So I agree with you, which is why for me it is one of the 100 episode, the 100 stem bolt episodes, as opposed to it stands singularly. So, yeah, I actually agree with your point in a lot of different ways.
And the thing that I like that he said, because it's true, and once again underscores how great Avery was in this episode. Those 3 very particular line reads at the end are absolutely in Avery's script, wherever it may be stored, are very specific. He knows exactly what he and the character are saying. However, the reads themselves can be interpreted differently. They are not definitive in interpretation, which leaves open said interpretation, which makes for great art as well.
Which is perpetually changing.
Right.
And we may be telling the truth to the camera, but lying to ourselves. And it's different. And, I think a thing now, it might not be true tomorrow. It might be because of reason X or reason, like it's complex, and you're right. It is open for interpretation, and I think that is the beauty of it. Jason continues, 94 stem bolts and safe travels to Mike.
Hey, made it.
Yeah.
Though the flight there was 5 hours of turbulence. 5 hours.
Ugh.
Sucked.
Yikes. That doesn't sound super fun. Brian from Video Game Drive-By says 100 liters of biomimetic stem bolts. This is an all-time god-tier episode of television, the greatest episode of the golden age of Trek, and one of the most singular, most rewatchable pieces of entertainment since the '87 Transformers movie for me.
Yeah, you've got the touch, baby.
You've got the touch.
Except I wish Optimus had been alive. Spoiler, had been alive longer, because we have to spend our time with Rodimus. And for me, guess what? Hot take. I didn't love Rodimus. I was always pro Optimus. Rodimus was not my jam.
Yeah, I don't know. That movie was not one of the touchstones for me. I think I saw it, but it wasn't like a big thing.
That's when they killed Optimus. I mean, they talk about like killing children's hearts. They take the hero and kill him the first 20 minutes.
It was bleak. Yeah.
But then they had a whole arc of television, a whole season. Forget it. We're talking about Transformers.
I mean, they basically just did Bambi, but with Transformers.
Yeah, but then Bambi didn't have like a TV series that brought him back eventually.
Hey, yeah, you're always gonna resurrect Bambi's mom. It's fine. Like zombie. All right. Anyway, this may as well be the Deep Space Nine movie. I learned something deeper and deeper each time I watch it. I'm so glad I got to watch the live stream. I genuinely believe Sisko and the Starfleet officer started the regular recording in good faith. He was still doing his duty to log everything, but by the end, Sisko the warrior realized the only way to live with it is to do so in secret. Though that last "I can live with it" always reads like someone trying to convince themselves based on how he accented the word "can." That's, again, up for interpretation. Also, Sisko and Garrick were so good in this episode that Section 31 took notes. I bet they worked on the background, smoothing out the edges, deleting a certain chief medical officer's formal complaint. Yeah, that's interesting. I bet they would have. I bet, whether they were involved from the beginning or saw what happened and cleaned up at the end, you've got to think that.
Isn't it kind of funny that 2 weeks ago we talked about, I remember specifically talking about how nothing's ever really deleted and did he delete that text and whatnot, and now we're just texting everybody. Now everybody gets a copy.
I mean, yeah.
And then all you have to do is go on TV and say, it didn't happen. That's where we are, man. Here's the text. And no, it's not. That's not. No,
that's not.
It's not there. And then he learned his
it.
lesson, right? Yeah, because it went okay. Dude, that's where we are. Where are we gonna go? Is there enough runway?
No, we're going to crash and burn. I don't know if I've not been clear enough about this. We are going to end in a ball of flames. That's where we're headed. So we're going to try to finish Deep Space Nine before we get to the ball of flames.
All right, cool.
Jamie Lubin says...
Can we sing first? I hope we can sing a little bit. We do some standards?
Well, we could.
Yeah.
Go into the Great American Catalog.
Give me a tux, baby.
Jamie Lubin says, hey...
We should be wearing tuxes and drinking highballs today. Why are we not doing that? Because it's Wednesday?
Because it's Wednesday and it's 2 o'clock and we didn't plan ahead?
Yeah. Fair.
For the third time, Jamie Lubin says, hey, give News Radio a chance.
Ugh.
It's a fun little series for its day. Wonderful performances from Dave Foley, Vicki Lewis, Maura Tierney, and Phil Hartman particularly.
I remember Phil Hartman.
The downside is that Joe Rogan was a regular cast member, so I'll let you make up your own minds. Look, I don't have.
He ended up the richest of everybody. You know what?
I'm just asking the question: is Joe Rogan an insufferable douchebag? I'm not saying it myself. I'm just asking the question. I'm gonna look it up online. Is he the type of person that dumb guys think of as smart? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. I'm just adding to the conversation. I don't really know. Yeah.
Jamie today is Instagram storying all kinds of promo for Keith and Mike Entertainment, and we just got to say big thank you on that.
Much appreciated. Yeah. that was fun.
It was fun.
Harry Pothead.
Usually it's just dog companies asking me if I want free stuff from China to stick on my dog and take pictures.
Oh yeah, they tried that with Charlie too.
Yeah, and I say
well,
no.
Charlie has his own Instagram account. He did do a promo for Catgrass once, but I didn't get anything out of it. I thought they're gonna send me some free stuff.
Never do. All you get is identity thieved.
He's gonna get his identity stolen. Harry Pothead says 100 stem bolts.
Nice.
I have always had the personal belief that Garrick used Cisco as an agent here, not the other way around. The optolithic data rod was always in Garrick's possession. The biomimetic gel that he needed to trade for was actually just what Garrick needed to put an undetectable bomb in Vreenik's shuttle. Yeah, good theory. I like that theory. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, we kind of enumerated on that last
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Kevin Miles says, it's a great episode. It's a fake. Great. Cisco breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience in the form of his personal log was a fantastic way of telling this episode. Going to Garrick for help opened the door for what is to come with Garrick. As for Bashir's complaint in his log, don't worry about it. Cisco had the approval from Starfleet for his plan to involve the Romulans in the war, therefore, Bashir's entry will be ignored or scrubbed by Section 31. This approval also goes to help Cisco ease his conscience. Mike asks if there were any more 100 stem bolt episodes to come. It's up to you how you rank them. In my opinion, this is the last 100 self-sealing stem bolt episodes, but there are a few 99s coming up. Mike, I would advise installing seatbelts on your chair for the rest of the series. Enough said. I don't want to face the wrath of Keith for spoilers. Very wise.
I bring it up every watch along, by the way.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Good. Once again, I give this episode 100 self-sealing stem bolts. Ryan Chesley, another 100 self-sealing stem bolts. One of the best Trek episodes in the history of the franchise. Agreed. Odo's Bucket says, this is a roller coaster of an episode. All the suspense, intrigue, and political maneuvering make it an instant classic. I hadn't heard of the theory that Garrick was manipulating Cisco from the start until a few years ago. Frankly, it elevates the episode even further. Throw in a masterful performance by Avery Brooks and Andrew Robinson, and you're up for one hell of a ride. While I agree, this episode is firmly outside of the Roddenberry box of the perfect utopian future free of interpersonal conflict, I think it's still classic Trek because at its core, it's about trying to build a better future while at the same time focusing on the finer points of morality. I think that is a fantastic point because the inherent goal is to prioritize morality, to prioritize doing the right thing. Deep Space Nine does not change the goal. It does not change how do we be the most moral people we can. How can we do the right thing? What Deep Space Nine adds is some realistic levels of complexity, that the moral choices are not always as easy as they might be. It paints with more colors in the crayons, and they make more difficult choices. But Starfleet's goal is to try to choose what is the most moral path. It's just not always so clear. I like it. Odo continues, Sisko's goal is to end the war, to end the suffering and save as many people as he can. If the cost of that is the self-respect of one Starfleet officer, then so be it. This gets 100 genuine Cardassian optolithic stem bolts from me.
You know what no one brought up? And we can't really dissect this right now, but yes, I agree that, Sisko is weighing... Read that last point. He's weighing the least amount of casualty?
His goal is to end the war, end the suffering, and save as many people as he can.
Yes, yes, but... Remember when there's some more wrinkles in there, because remember when Julian and the crack team of researchers that he had brought him that surrender plan that saved more lives? So that can't be the top priority. That priority can't, end the war.
Well,
because that's achieved end the war. That achieved least casualties as possible. Maybe win the wars? What we're trying to do?
Well, I think the difference is that recommendation was based on the assumption that this was the only path. And I think, that Sisko just didn't buy that assumption.
Okay.
And so it's still the same goal. He just believes this is the better way to do it. So, anyway. So, Hibernation Pod, Batman, we were talking about Batman, the movie, the original one.
89, right?
Says, went to the movie, then got the VHS for Christmas along with a poster of the bat symbol for my bedroom wall. I remember that poster.
So I have a picture. I will try to, in a down moment, I will bring it up. Also,
there are no down moments on our show.
Also coming out of that movie, I also purchased a button, right? Like a little, the old school button.
Sure.
That I then decided in all my 80s wisdom, I guess I'm 9 years old, or almost I'm 8 years old, I was going to put on my pants like a belt buckle, but I didn't wear belts, so it's just a button worn as a belt buckle. But imagine it's the really short 80s pants, 80s shorts with hiked up socks. I got to find this picture.
You've got to find that picture.
I do.
I love the creativity and idiocy of that whole thing.
It definitely exists. I think I know where it is. I'll look while you talk.
Yeah, that's a must. Hibernation continues, all from the same awesome sister. I loved the Jumbo video store near us when growing up. The popcorn, the big space, the movie promotional signs, my constant struggle for the control of the master ring, the video card, with my other, not at all awesome, sister. You touched on things I never thought of before, and I found myself leaning more towards agreeing with Mike. How dare you? On whether Sisko knew or not that he was going to delete the log ahead of time. It seemed like something he had to figure out along the way, but he needed to say something out loud and also know that the final outcome was going to be first before recording it. Yes, I always felt that Garrick was the puppet master here, with all the mental templates for covert operations on standby or firing off all at once, for many things seen and unseen. He is the galaxy's most dangerous man, and the fate of his beloved homeworld is at stake. No point boring himself or anyone else with the smaller trivial matters. He knew what it took, and once before, he was willing to wipe out the Founders out at any cost back in Season 4. Agreed. Oceans apart, cosmos apart, it makes no difference to modern weaponry. We were speaking about our current world. I very much appreciate the real-world comparisons you make. You guys chose a hell of a time to do this podcast. The parallels are astounding sometimes. The opening act was a spot on to the dynamic of the Ukrainian-Russian war. Yeah.
Interesting.
This has always been a top 5 episode for me, but in itself is the best of the best of the series because it is both totally self-contained and super meta all at once. Top-notch acting and top-notch Garrick impersonation of one of his finest moments. When Vrinak said, "My opinion of Starfleet officers is so low you'd have to work very hard indeed to disappoint me." The challenge was made, and Sisko accepted and succeeded in doing so spectacularly. A very easy 100 fake self-sealing stem bolts. How you doing on that belt, buddy?
I'm looking, but I'm listening too. I'm doing both things.
We're all waiting with bated breath, with bated belt. Mysterious Anne says, I'd never heard or thought of the theory that Garrick had it all planned before Sisko ever asked him, or that it was actually Garrick who forced the whole thing by getting Bashir to suggest it to Sisko. I can definitely imagine Garrick manipulating Julian over the course of a couple of lunchtime conversations, which would have been a nice callback to the Bond episode, and in the contrast between Bashir's interest in spycraft and Garrick's totally terrifying mastery of spycraft. I really like that idea, but I'm glad it isn't totally clear in the episode that that's the case and at what point Garrick's manipulation begins. The ambiguity adds to the feeling of paranoia and uncertainty that comes with a good spy story, and it also lets Sisko's part in the story have more of a sense of moral agency, even if it's not clear how much agency he has. That is a fantastic point. Agreed 100%. I don't think anyone's mentioned my favorite moment yet. When Avery Brooks does a perfect imitation of Brock Peters as Joseph Sisko. The souffle will rise.
That was a good point. Yeah, that was good.
It's worth going back and watching again to appreciate how well he does it, the voice and the mannerisms and everything. In the middle of this incredibly intense, iconic episode, here's this great Sisko family shout out, and having a really spot on imitation of your parents is such a real family thing. 100 stem bolts and a million memes for this one. Mike, do you have impressions of your family members?
Not really. So we sort of just do the same one for everything. And then my wife's family has this thing they call the voice, which is they kind of do the same voice for every family member. I can't really bring them here. It won't be funny because it's just an old lady voice, but that's what we do.
Just an old lady voice.
Do you guys do impressions to your family?
No, which is weird because I have a million terrible impressions.
Right.
But I don't do my family. I guess they don't have enough tics. I think my family spent too much time listening to NPR.
Mm-hmm.
So we all sort of speak with the same cadence and the same pronunciations of things. And
right.
It was like we're all just like vaguely pretentious. It's not much of a thing to do an impression of.
That's fair.
YouTube viewer says Blockbuster Video had a chance to buy Netflix in its infancy and they passed up on the opportunity. Oops.
Yeah, I mean that sounded ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like the premise of we're going to just stream everything on the internet at the time was just insane.
Yeah, but inevitable. I remember, because I was, ridiculous. I was a nerd. Remember in high school, talking to my parents with the early computers, because we were early adopters of that, and I was like, you realize, at some point on this computer will be all of the world's information. Every movie, every TV show, every book, every whatever, it'll just be right there on the computer. And it felt like science fiction when I said it. But here it is. And it's not just on the computer. It's on your darn phone. Pretty cool.
It's everywhere.
Anyway.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It's everything.
We've gone so far down that rabbit hole that now we're trying to recollect stuff so we can watch it ourselves again.
Well, right. Because the minute it got there,
we've gone around the full circle.
Took it back so they could monetize it. Anyway, YouTube continues. Vulcan is a real star system that is relatively close to Earth. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I didn't know that, actually.
There is a Beta lore Star Trek story where Beta Z has an uprising and liberates their planet from the Dominion by using a forbidden technique to emotionally overload the Jem'Hadar. Interesting. But even then, the Beta Z did that, ended up with a psychological scarring from the effort and the feedback. Of course, you gotta have the Stephen King cost to your telekinesis.
Hold everything, Keith.
Yes. Oh, is it? Here we are.
Okay, so let me bring it over. Make sure that it's... I'm going to just cover myself here because I really want to make sure you get the full size. So I'm wearing the t-shirt, but I also want you to notice.
Oh my God.
See the belt buckle? My sister's rocking it too. My sister's rocking a whole bunch of 80s. My mom gave me this haircut. There's so much 80s in this photo, you almost can't handle it.
Those shorts! Oh my God.
Yeah.
Folks.
But they're also navy blue shorts with a black t-shirt.
Of course.
And the belt, yeah. And the haircut
Hiked
my mom did herself.
Like over your belly button.
That's a full Floby job, by the way.
Floby?
Yeah, we had a Floby. That was that.
Oh my God.
Everything about that is... My sister's got a belt buckle too. See, hers is Keaton as Batman.
Yes. Wow. I mean, look, that was a very important movie.
Yeah.
It's a very important movie.
Don't ever tell my sister I put this picture on the internet. Please.
This will be our last episode of Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine.
I'm so glad that exists.
That's amazing. Amazing. YouTube finishes. I don't think the episodes that follow in season 6 are as good as in the Pale Moonlight, but I like them all a lot. Not a stinker among them. JD comes in and says, Mike, perfect leg cross.
Thank you.
By the time we get to the season finale, these podcasts are going to be 7 hours long. Proof positive.
Yeah, bro.
We are here. How many? We're 42 minutes in.
Yeah, it's happening.
We're not even done. There are multiple farting superheroes. In my opinion, the best was Paul Rubens as the spleen in Mystery Men. I'm not familiar with that. For Brian, I understand your fear of sharing certain things here where Keith then reads them. And in full honesty, I am dreading an episode next season because if I make it through the watch along, I will have a lot of heavy feelings to share. Yeah. YouTube viewer, this is Keith and Mike, not Wisecrack. We can't do philosophy here. Well played.
Well played.
I said, damn, Keith's family growing up didn't acknowledge farts. Mine didn't acknowledge abuse. Talk about different lives. To which I say, don't be so sure of that.
It doesn't have to be either. Can it be both?
Yeah, believe me. Let me put it this way. We were consistent in our ideology of acknowledging things.
To quickly turn the vibes,
okay.
Since he mentioned farting superheroes, I have to mention, this is off the cuff, but I have a good friend, Eric Hogan. He's a filmmaker out in LA. He's working on a project right now. I think there's an Indiegogo, and he's still raising money, and I absolutely think you should support him. It's an incredible endeavor. It's called Crappy Superheroes from the Public Domain, and what he and his wife are doing, and his team, are grabbing a whole bunch of superheroes that have entered public domain, right? That from the golden age of comics that are just absolutely absurd, and like doing the tone is very much those sort of like the greatest toy ever made, those type of Netflix shows, but for these superheroes and telling their tales and animating them. It's really cool. So check it out, Google it. Superheroes from the crappy superheroes from the public domain. Eric Hogan, check it out.
Okay.
I think the pilot is on YouTube. We'll link it.
I'll check it out, brother. Oh wait, not that Hogan.
No, he's very, very so much. He's not racist at all, my friend Eric.
Love it. JD continues, I think Sisko started off thinking that he could record the log in order to justify his actions both to himself and anyone else who would hear that, us. But in the end, he realized his personal justification was sufficient. Here's the thing Sisko could check to see if Garrick's sources... here's the thing. Sisko could check to see if Garrick's sources all really died in the 24-hour period, so I doubt he lied about it at all. Some, probably. Maybe, maybe he could check, but like that level of intelligence might be hard for him to access. Like, who are Garrick's sources? Because you know Garrick's not going to say who it is. And then finding out if he somehow knew whether he'd get news from Cardassia about them having died. I don't know if
check
he
WhatsApp though.
Yeah, I'm sure the Cardassian assassins would have just added him to the signal thread. Just like, all right, we're gonna kill him at 2:00. Wait, who is this? Don't worry about it. Anyway, a fun bit of info about our guest alien. They had a special UV light that would be pointed at him during filming to make his blue skin pop even more.
Cool.
That's why you never actually see any actor get close, because then the UV light might hit them and do things like make their teeth glow or something else. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Super cool. And the blue really, really pops.
Really popped.
Bravo, although next time a pre-workout on the alien names might help. No, it won't. No, it won't.
No.
I'm not, I don't do names. I don't do alien names. I don't do actor names. I don't do any of that.
We don't do that. We don't train of thought. You know, in that Transformers movie, Keith, was also like it was like a pandemic spoiler, because there was like if you touched them, you get this disease. And I remember there's a line, he goes, I'm a pepper, want to be a pepper too? Anyway, sorry, non sequitur.
Okay, do that again, but as Peppa Pig.
Wait, I don't know how Peppa Pig talks. He's British, right?
Oh, she's British.
I don't do British pig.
That'll do, Mike. Slight disagreement on the leg cross. To me, it felt like a defensive move.
Oh, I thought they meant mine in the opening.
No. He liked your leg cross. We're talking about Cisco's motivation.
Are we still on JD?
Yes. To me, it felt like a defensive move, almost like a child crossing their arms. It was him saying he will not be moved from the decision. I've had a theory that Garrick had contacts with Section 31 the entire time, and maybe some of the things he does in this episode were in coordination with them, but it's not something we can confirm. Yeah. I think this might be the absolute best pacing of any episode. There was never a dull moment, and yep, this is a full 100 self-sealing stem bolts. And lastly, Alan T. Girton comes in and says, I'd mentioned Far Beyond the Stars as one of the top 10 episodes of all Star Trek, and in the top 3 for Deep Space Nine. In the Pale Moonlight fits within these same classifications with both ease and complexity. I concur with the others that Sisko's log recording was his way of processing his actions and the results, and once done, no longer needed to be needed except as a personal memory. And Andrew Robinson's performance as Garrick was the capstone of all the character building done in previous seasons. Robinson was able to pull all the different little pieces he learned about Garrick, or thought we knew of him, into a cohesive, sinister, and complete portrayal with no question 100 non-fake, self-sealing stem bolts. There we go, folks. We did it. Let us talk about a very different episode of Deep Space Nine, His Way, which aired on April 22nd, 1998. The top song, I can't wait to hear this one. It's the classic next tune, Too Close.
I think I'm too close to the microphone, 'cause you can hear my salivaing. Did you say the name of this band was Next?
Next, that's right.
This was the top song.
The top song.
From a band I've never heard of, and a song title I've never heard of.
Yes. And the best part is, so your interpretation of what was too close, super gross.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just let my brain go.
Yeah, but it wasn't close to how gross it actually is. This is a song about getting a boner while dancing. And you're too close.
Do you have the lyrics?
Yes, hold on. Let me,
Can you give me just an excerpt?
Okay, here we go. Yes. Baby, When we're grinding? That's right.
Baby, when we're grinding, I get so excited. I remember this now. Yeah.
Ooh, how I like it. I try, but I can't fight it. Oh, you're dancing real close. Plus, it's real slow. You know what you're doing, don't you? You're making it hard for me. Wait. Step back. You're dancing kind of close. I feel a little poke coming through on you.
Wow, that's what this
It's
song
the
was?
actual
I never knew that.
lyric. That is the actual lyric.
Wow.
I feel a little poke coming through on you. Now, girl, I know you feel it. Boo, you know I can't help it. Wow. Yeah, 100%. That is what this song is about. I listened to it and I'm like, is this? Oh, it really is. That's what it's about.
Now that we're here, I want you all to know that on myinstance.com, there is
what the hell is that?
It's just, it lists a whole bunch of soundboards with buttons that you can hit.
Oh, okay.
There is an entire soundboard called the Boner Soundboard.
Sure.
It's just all boners.
I mean, we had one for Oops.
There's one called Nick Cage Boner.
I guess we have to listen to it.
We do, but I have to turn down the Deep Space Nine. Hold on.
You did the opposite. You just turned it up as opposed to...
Well, I have to.
Silence.
They're on the same fader. That's why.
I see. All right.
All right.
Give you a boner, and you got one.
Okay.
Okay.
I was looking for the boy. That's the one.
There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Anyway, so sorry to anyone with children.
Yes. With with an apology to everyone, with or without children. But it was the top song. Look, we can't. We are not responsible for the news. We are just reporting it.
We're grinding.
Yeah, there it is. So the top movie. Get this, another thing I had never heard of. The Big Hit.
Mob movie?
Which, I don't know. It was a movie starring, wait for it, Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, and Avery Brooks.
Wow.
Might be worth a view.
What's it called? The Big Hit?
The Big Hit.
That was also another name for that song, Keith.
I mean, if you're lucky. I mean, like, everyone hopes for the big hit, but, we're kind of just happy to get a medium graze.
Yeah, sing. You see, a week is good for us, because then we find each other funny again. What's it called? The Big Hit? I'm actually can you imagine what I'm doing right now, Keith?
I know exactly what you're doing. Whew, all right. So, Mike, what was on? You have to focus.
I didn't.
We don't know what was
I
on
forgot
TV.
we did this, yeah.
Yeah, well, ironic that you said that, because what was Voyager doing? The episode?
Nothing.
Unforgettable.
Oh.
Yes. Which I don't remember what that was about.
Huh.
This episode, His Way, was directed by Alan Croker, who last directed One Little Ship. It was written by Ira Stephen Bear and Hans Beimler. They brought in some big kids to do this, which means, well, you're looking for a clip of Avery Brooks, you're gonna have to hit the button. Now, Keith, waste your time. Look, Mike, look! With trivial trivia!
Oh, nailed it.
We arrived at it!
Took forever, but we got there.
But, was it worth the wait?
Yeah.
You're damn right it was.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, yes. At the very least, Keith, highly entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot to talk about here because guess what? This is the intersection of Star Trek and musical theater. Guess what our home base is? Star Trek and musical theater.
Yeah.
So, Nana Visitor performed the song Favor herself.
Favor!
That was 100% her. In fact, she chose the song. because of her mother's friendship with Doris Duke, a socialite and patron of the arts and one of the richest women in the world. When Visitor was a child, she and her mother would visit Duke's mansion in New Jersey, and Duke would play piano and sing for them. On one particular visit, Duke sang Fever, and the way she sang the song had a huge impact on Visitor, who was 9 at the time. So while you were fashioning custom Batman buckles, Nana Visitor was singing Fever with Doris Duke. Pretty impressive. Now, of course, Nana was no stranger to being a singer. So she had already at this point starred in 42nd Street, in the Los Angeles premiere of it as what's her name, the lead,
Reno Sweeney.
That's
Anything Goes.
No, That's Anything Goes.
Peggy Sawyer.
Peggy Sawyer. And
She taps.
she did what?
She taps.
She taps. She does tap. And she also was in Chicago on Broadway after Deep Space Nine, as everyone did. Now, of course, we have a lot more to talk about with that. When Vic brings Odo on stage, Odo protests that he doesn't sing. Guess what? In reality, René Auberjonois was a trained singer and won a Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in the musical Coco. But that is not my favorite one of his Broadway performances. Mike, do you know what is?
Well, I can tell you mine first, Keith, because
Okay,
I remember him in the worst date I've ever been on.
Oh.
Yes. I saw this movie.
Oh. You went on a date to the... Oh, wait. I think you
Yes,
told me this story.
I did. It was terrible. And so I, for years, hated this movie. Hated. And then as an adult, I went back and revisited some great choice. Wait, time out. I'm wrong. This is Little Mermaid, right?
Little Mermaid.
Oh, I'm thinking Beauty and the Beast. I loved Little Mermaid. In fact, I really loved Little Mermaid. I still have a crush on Ariel to this day. I'm just waiting.
Doesn't.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for her to be real. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that thread loose. Baby, when we're grinding. Anyway.
I also have a crazy story about that, but I'm going to tell you that off air.
Yeah, me too.
But for those keeping track at home, of course, Renee played Chef Louis, voiced Chef Louis in this, singing in that, and then the Broadway production was my buddy John Tracy Egan took over.
But what is your favorite show that he was in?
But my favorite,
you love a flop.
The best thing Renee ever did, other than Deep Space Nine, is a tiny little Broadway production of Dance of the Vampires.
Shall we?
We got a clip.
We should.
Gotta
there
make
it
it
is.
bigger.
With a logic unmistakable, irrational reality, your stubbornness I'll shake and break your confidentiality. My skill is unsurpassable, my thinking truly awesome, yet I do become irascible with people playing possum like you do. I've been sticking out my neck with such impeccable detection while deflecting all the dread which you inflict in my direction. I came all the way from Heidelberg to undertake my final quest to save your suicidal work. I'll do my level-headed best for you. You may be a simple figure when you fly like a toboggan. If you only had a stitching of the knowledge in my noggin, I'll do so cover squarely while I execute the hiding and elucidate the technique with the logic almost psychic like you. To detect the undetectable, it's what you can expect of me. Dissecting the respectable, just like an appendectomy. My brain's like a razor cutting, clicking the confusion, ripping deep into that haze of life, eluding all illusion. This is true.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Keith, what you might hear on the other side is a little something that I think we should check out.
They get louder. I can't hear.
Oh, I got to change the sound. Just a moment here.
That's okay. She's not there yet. It's the other person singing.
Ugh, so hard to do.
At 8.
There we go.
Okay, Nana, let's see here.
The stars
Look at her.
are gonna twinkle and shine.
1984. So this was like, how many?
I'll be waiting where the lane begins.
That wig.
On needles and pins and threads.
Guess we're not gonna see her tap,
The world is gonna be mine.
So cool.
Very
I haven't
cool.
seen this.
Evening, about a quarter to
Just in finally a little bit of harmony. That's about when this episode's gonna be over too.
1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it as we go on to Voyager. Half of Voyager are Broadway people.
Mm.
So there's so many overlaps in musical theater and Star Trek that actually Jillian and I were talking about it this afternoon, because it was like, so what makes them cast a whole bunch of old Broadway folks? Because like Brent Spiner was in the original cast of Sunday in the Park with George, and Gates McFadden is a dancer and a performer, and half of Voyager are Broadway people. So it's really cool, and what a great opportunity here to use some of it. So the production staff went through several casting calls before deciding on the actor to play Vic Fontaine. After looking at John McTiernan, Steve Lawrence, Robert Goulet, Tom Jones, Jerry Vale, they finally decided on James Darren because he was so completely inhabited in the role of Vic Fontaine. For a time, they didn't even know he was in character until they recognized the dialogue they had given him to speak.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he's just one of those
It's
guys.
just him.
Yeah.
Just 100% just him.
I made it's not even a joke, it's an actual thing. He reminds me so specifically of an amalgamation of literally everyone my father ever introduced me to. Every one of my father's friends put together is this dude.
Like Italian Philly guys.
Yeah.
Totally. So the producers had originally wanted Frank Sinatra Jr. for the role of Vic Fontaine, but Sinatra was only interested in appearing in the show if he got to play an alien in full makeup. They were not interested in the idea of a 50s Las Vegas lounge singer in alien makeup. And sadly, he died shortly after this episode aired.
Yeah, that's what who did? Sinatra?
Sinatra Jr.
Because I think this guy just died recently.
He did, yeah.
What I think is kind of funny, and where Sinatra sort of wasn't thinking meta enough, is that he is sort of playing an alien, because Vic is alien to them.
Right.
Yeah, his like that whole like time period and shtick is alien to them. So it's
Yeah. Oh. This episode was nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Music Direction, and it deserved it. And this is the only episode of Trek ever to receive a nomination in that category.
now for those for the Great American Songbook, those aren't public domain, right? You still pay rights on those, right?
No, in fact, I don't know if I have it specifically in my thing here, but yeah, they were negotiating the licensing for songs like up until the day before they started filming.
It's definitely why that last minute, I think it's a nice beat at the very end when he's like, hey, leave the program running for a few minutes. I want to sing. And I'm like, yep, they paid for some bars that they didn't put in the show yet.
What? Yeah, I mean, I also think it's a great character beat, but yeah, I mean, they definitely had to. One of my good friends licenses for Sony, and like negotiating the rights for all these things is like a constant thing.
And you got to get your money's worth. Like even that episode. Speaking of character beats, but they ground them all. But that scene where they're just humming, Avery and Odo are just humming. They still let it play out for like a good 45 seconds.
Well, and you got to pay for it anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's and so it's very expensive. It's very expensive to do, especially on television at that point. So, it was a real investment to do that, but it was also one of the benefits of hiring an actual singer, not an actor singing, because they could pull from Darren's whole catalog. He's performing this way every night in Vegas. Like this is his occupation. So that they pull up 50 different American standards and like, oh, we got this one cleared, we got that one cleared, we're filming tomorrow. He's like, okay, no, not a problem, I got it. Which was great. So lastly, during his dinner with Kira, Odo launches into a bit of simple French when speaking to her. One of his favorite characters, of course, most beloved, was Louis the French chef in Little Mermaid, already addressed. Our guest stars this week are Debbie A. Moynihan as Melissa and Cindy Pass as Ginger, and of course, the aforementioned James Jimmy Darren as Vic Fontaine. You know who, much like Vic Fontaine, fill our hearts with a song and joy and improve our lives and our love lives every day.
Keith, I can only assume you mean the patrons. That's Brian Kilmer, Beersock, Peter Bank, Frank Rinch, Quarksbar, Jan, Ryan Chesley, Andre, Romulan Shoulder Pad Enjoyer, Jamie Lubin, Jason Moe. Welcome to Deborah. Joshua, you know what's funny about Deborah, Keith? She was on the watch along. I assume they were on the watch along, and I made that funny joke. You know, like on OBS, you can see who's using battery power. So I made the joke, "Oh, hey, I can see you're using battery." She's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could see that," and then disappeared from the stream. And I'm hoping I didn't scare you away. I can't. I'm not a hacker. I'm not Russia. It's just a funny little icon that appears on the screen. Joshua Cronin.
It's creepy.
It is absolutely creepy, and I regret it instantly, even retelling the story.
You're creepy.
Yeah, that's true. FEMA! Mike, Andrew Hayes, Alan.
Every time Mike needs to bail, it's FEMA!
Harry Pothead, Anton Thies, Alan, M. Mysterious, Carl Fisher, Alan Gurton, Charles Babbage, John Kelly, Deborah Scott, Tren, Keith Blank, Chancellor Jen, Brian from Video Game Drive-By, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, YouTube viewer, Odo's Bucket, James Hubbard, Lost Emu, Hibernation Pod, Scotty B, Mary Holcomb, Merritt Neath, Rogue Knight, 86 and Company, JD Miggs, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, Frank Rinch, Pat, Josh, Kevin, Aroha, welcome, Mr. Smokin' Dragon, welcome, Engineer Maynard, Bolian for Soup, Let's Crimmer, Jerome Gibson, DC, White Eldridge, Kevin Miles, Chanel, welcome, Fedora the Explorer, welcome, Ryan Caputo, that sounds like a Fox guy, but not, and much better, because you're with us. And of course, the Chancellor Jen. Folks, I can't even believe how awesome it is that you're all here, but even more awesome, Keith. Can you believe I did that?
Yeah.
Is the Hall of Fame. And page 2. Anton Thies, Merritt Neath, Harry Pothead,
You got it.
Casey Clark, Brian Kaufman, Jason Moe, Joshua Cronin, The Mysterious Anne and Family, Andrew Hayes, Worf's Boot Shivs, Colin Dagan, Peter Bank, CRM Productions, Cloud Lover 69, Jorge Novoa, Charles Babbage, Kevin Miles, Frank Rinch, Bryant Kimbermirsick, JD Makes, CRM Productions again, Ryan Chesley, Yanba, and the original, the OG, Bobby Donald.
You know what?
It's 1 hour into the episode now.
They're giving us a week off did not improve things.
Nope.
Did not.
Hey, I hit record.
That's good, because I would have quit. Let's go to the screening room.
Yeah, let's do it. Here we go. That guy got paid to be a musician.
Joke's on the people who paid him.
Right, that's true. Hey!
Okay, so in our teaser, we're in Vic Fontaine's!
Yeah, man.
We are finally here at Vic's. I'm so excited to get here. It's a Vegas Rat Pack era club headlined by Vic Fontaine, a crooner similar to Jimmy Darren. What do you know? And he's
Bobby
singing
Darin?
Bobby Darin, Bobby Donald. He's singing You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You. And the couples are all here. Worf and Dax, Bashir and O'Brien, and Kira and Odo. and Odo can't help but tap his toe, which Kira notices and enjoys immensely. Vic finishes the song, and Bashir introduces everybody. This is Bashir's program, and he designed Vic, the hologram, to be self-aware, which is interesting for a holodeck character. He's in Vegas in the 1960s, but he knows what he is. They are all, of course, clueless to his slang, but Vic is very intuitive about their relationships. He can tell. Okay, let's hear it.
I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to have to talk about it again. It's kind of flip, but I think we have to blame Bashir for this whole AI revolution, because he's sort of, you're not supposed to make them sentient, man. You're not supposed to give them smarts and self-awareness, because then they start crossing over programs and showing up, and all kinds of mishigas can begin. So I just want to point my pin in the board here that it's all Bashir's fault.
Okay, well, yes and no.
Because didn't they also do that doctor program on Voyager? Like, that's the other thing, right? He's self-aware.
Oh yeah, but because at this point we're deep into Voyager.
Oh, okay.
Who is a hologram, who has, all of that. But that's not who broke the seal. You want to know who broke the seal?
Data?
Data.
Yeah.
Data broke the seal on Next Gen when he made Moriarty.
Right, who also
hologram
escaped, right?
Capable of beating Data. So he was the first of the sentient holograms that we're aware of. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So Bashir just didn't learn the lesson.
The only thing he wasn't aware of, Keith, is the idea of consent.
What was it? Wait, what? Which one?
Vic.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. But for the most part, jovial and a fun time guy.
He had a very 60s concept of what consent meant. Yeah, for sure.
Mutual consent. How about non-consent?
Just at all.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, we'll get there. So he can tell that Worf and Dax are married. O'Brien misses his wife and is checking out the ladies. And Odo and Kira, never mind. He tells them to all stop wearing pajamas to his club. Or acrobat suits, I believe is what he says.
Funny.
And he goes back to sing some more. Everyone is dazzled and shocked by how much he knows about them, Vic does. So they schedule to come back tomorrow. But Kira can't go because she's going to visit Shakar on Bajor. This, of course, leaves Odo stricken. Everyone thought they had broken up. O'Brien and Bashir discuss further while Odo eavesdrops. Apparently, Vic helped Bashir get a date with an ensign. So he plants the seed that Vic might be a good Cyrano. Odo is intrigued. And that is enough of a teaser for this episode. Mm-hmm. So in Act 1, Quark and Odo Quark and Odo discuss because they're BFFs. And it's interesting here that we see the change in their character, in their relationship, because they still have the pretense that we're not best friends, but it's softened so much over the years that they're not trying as hard to pretend like they hate each other.
Yeah, and Odo needs somebody to tell him what's up, right? Not everybody has that kind of relationship with him, so it's nice that Quark does.
No, because if it's not Kira, it's Quark, and it can't be Kira here. And Quark gives actually fantastic advice here. Mm-hmm. So Quark says, I don't know why.
I think the writing and Armin really play this really straight, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, he's just actually genuinely being a good friend. And, Quark says, I don't know why you're so surprised. What did you expect was going to happen? I wasn't expecting anything. I see. How long has it been since the Major and Shakar broke up? I don't know, about a year? It's been over a year. You've had plenty of time to arrange a merger with Kira, but in all that time, have you even tried to open negotiations? It's not that simple. Odo, the woman waited a year for you to make an offer, any kind of offer. Face it, you had plenty of opportunities and you let them all slip away. I am familiar with this dynamic because, and I think I'll just say it now, I identified with Odo in this episode I always identify with Odo, but in this episode, I'm like, oh my god, this is just full on me all the way through. Odo then asks Quark for a favor, access to Vic's program. Later that night, Bashir goes to Quark to ask if there's an open holosuite, and Quark says, nope, because he's covering for his buddy. Odo is in there, and he's not going to give up that info. Again, this is a very good Quark. Quark did good here. So we cut to Odo in the holosuite, and Vic is telling stories about hanging out with Frank and Dean. Of course, Sinatra and Dean, what's his name?
Martin,
yes. Odo asks him what he
Someone
meant.
in the chat told me that he was actually sort of performing in Vegas quite a bit, this guy, and actually knew all those guys. Like, so these are all-
Yeah. He knew all these people.
Yeah.
Like, he's telling stories about basically his own life through here, which is really cool and meta.
He's great with dialogue too. They gave him a lot of not awesome dialogue, like very trope heavy, and
Yeah.
he delivers
sells
really
it.
well. He sells,
Well,
and it's like, for a guest star, it's a gargantuan amount of script.
And he's to carry a lot. And you know what's interesting? Speaking of trivial trivia, I could have mentioned. So he's a singer primarily, but it's not that he's never acted before. In fact, he was a main character on T.J. Hooker with William Shatner.
Yeah, in fact, someone also mentioned that they loved working with him because he was like always nailed it, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, and maybe I'm wrong, but in watching the episode, one of my, I don't want to say a criticism, but one thing that stood out is it was heavily edited. Like, it was a heavy hand on the edit. You can tell because there's a lot of frames cut and a lot of different angles used, and a lot of times the eye lines don't match up. And I was wondering, my first assumption was that maybe he wasn't great with the dialogue and they had to cut it together from a lot of takes, but apparently that's not the case. Maybe it's just a bad edit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just might be a little heavy hand in the directing. Unclear. So Vic says, you're crazy about the broad, but you're afraid to do anything about it. And it's the oldest story in the book. She thinks of you as a friend. I wouldn't call that a secret. But women have been known to change their minds. You just have to give them a reason. You make it sound so easy. That's because it's not that hard. The girl likes you. That means you're halfway home. And Odo, which is what I would have said, she's aware of my feelings toward her. The truth is, she prefers Shakar, who, First Minister of Bajor. What is this? Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that screenshot.
I tried to do it fast.
Yeah, that's my best look. I'm preparing for the dick whistle.
Which, everyone who's been friend zones ends up with the dick whistle sooner or later.
Well, it's a solo concerto. So Vic says, I don't care if he's JFK. It's not the other guy you have to worry about, it's you. He tells Odo he needs to relax and have some fun. I mean, you've got about as much personality as an icicle. Cool is one thing, but you're frozen solid. You think I have no emotions? Believe me, I do. I just don't always show them. And therein lies the problem. So he has Odo change his outfit to a tuxedo.
But not before mentioning Nanook of the North about 12 times.
He did. Well, look, we need to reinforce we're like 60s.
Yeah.
60s references. But again, that's the program. So, of course, we have able to do the cool effect of Odo being able to create his own tuxedo. Fun, good opportunity to use Odo's Odoing. So he has Odo sit down at the piano. He turns on a crowd and has Odo pretend to play the piano for a full rendition of Come Fly With Me. And it's a player piano, so he just sort of waves his hands around it. Odo is reluctant at first, then has a blast. It's a full musical number, the entire song, which is crazy, but also, to me, delightful.
Delightful, and not only, it's easy to make this sort of pessimistic pass of, well, they paid for the song, so they do the full number. Or they paid for this guest star, they have him do the full number. But, as you said, Renee here, of course, has a full 3-act arc.
Yes, he does.
with no dialogue, a couple of stunt hands here and there, and completely tells a story 100% in the 2.5-3 minutes of the song. And I think that is so ballsy that it has to get credit.
Well, it's patient, and you hand the ball to Renee, and and to Darren. Darren, your job is to sing the crap out of this.
Yeah, work it.
Which
that's
he does.
clearly. I mean, I think that's his band. It looks like
I'm
they're
sure,
playing,
yeah.
and so.
And then Renee, mock play piano as the character and as Renee, and take us on this whole journey. And it is so delightful to watch Odo enjoy himself.
You know what the vibes it gave me? Sorry, it's bizarre deep cut, but in Groundhog's Day, where at the very end, because he's got nothing else to do, he just starts taking lessons, piano lessons, recycling.
Right.
And then the last scene, he sits down at the piano with his trio and just slays it, and has so much fun, and people react to it, and it gives the same thing here. Like, that moment is earned because you see all of the work that took place beforehand. Renee just has 3 minutes to make that happen. But also the thing that it's cool, it's not just him loosening up. It's not just him having fun, but it's also the reaction of the crowd and the people wanting to see his hands afterwards. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on my own journey for a second, but there was a time in my life I just turned 30 years old, and I lost a ton of weight. I got really ripped. I just got in really great shape, and for the first time in my life, I started getting attention from women. It was just a different type of attention and I'm not saying that's preferable. I'm just saying that if you've never experienced something, or experienced being cool, or experienced that attention, there is an intoxicating quality to it. And a sort of a door opening moment of confidence, right, that you can carry through. Now, yes, the lesson you learn is that you don't need those same things for that confidence, but I understand that sort of, oh crap, I didn't know that there was this feeling existed.
Your first taste of that type of attention.
Yeah.
I honestly, I had this sort of same experience at about the same time. And it was like, oh wow, you realize eventually it's hollow.
It's hollow.
Or at least it's.
And in my opinion, the juice ain't worth the squeeze, but.
I mean, clearly I gave up on that part of it. But yes, I mean, it's interesting to watch Odo, because not only does he sort of lighten up and have fun, he appears much younger.
Yeah.
There's a very childlike quality to Odo.
And
here.
for me, as a viewer of the series, what I thought was really cool in this moment is that I had always, even though I know this other stuff Renee had done, he's so ingrained in Odo that I just sort of thought that there's a lot of Renee in Odo, in his performance of him. But then seeing these other qualities come out, I was like, oh, Odo's a character, and we're seeing more colors of it. It was really neat to see.
Yeah, because it a lot of Renee's career, he plays characters very different from Odo.
Yeah.
I mean, go watch him do Father Mulcahy in the movie of MASH. Totally different character, and it's fun. So in Act 2, Odo and Vic debrief. Odo was able to have fun because it wasn't real, but he's grateful none of his friends saw it. And Vic says, well, there you go again, tensing up again. I mean, look at you, standing there like a statue. The only thing you're going to attract are pigeons. Now, sit down, relax, take a couple of deep breaths. Do that, and everything you want will come to you. Now, this is where I had the interesting thought. Thinking about this whole story through the hypothetical lens of Odo, as opposed to just being nervous, probably being neurodivergent. Which sort of changes, because again, as I'm understanding this about myself so much more, having 10,000 people in my life telling me, just lighten up, just relax, and realizing that sometimes that's the right advice, but but when you're dealing with neurodivergence, that's not really the right advice.
It's funny, I totally agree, but also myself and some of the patrons had a very similar conversation a little later in the episode, so I'm going to pin it until we get there. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then a couple of Hollow groupies arrive and they fawn over Odo. And Vic says, "What are you worried about? Melissa's a very nice girl." "I'm sure she is. It's just she's not Kira." To which Vic says, "Tell me something. How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" "I have no idea. Practice, practice, practice." Get it? No? Think of this evening as a trial run. Trust me, you're gonna do great. So, this is not the type of practicing that Jen did
No.
to get to Carnegie Hall.
No.
Coming up in April, folks. Go see Jen at Carnegie Hall.
Yep.
Keith and Mike will be there,
Sure
sitting
will.
in the front row.
Yeah.
So,
no, we're nothing but arm candy.
That's right. I'm just all by myself. I'll candy my own arm.
So, Keith, it's gonna be great for you because it's not just you and I going. It's also half of Jen's family and all of her friends and all these people that I'm gonna have to introduce you to. And I know that you just love that.
Oh, I just love.
It's your favorite thing.
I'm gonna remember their names.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
I'm not. So
Everyone's gonna question Jen afterwards and be like, "Why did your husband bring a date?"
Well, look, life is complicated.
Yeah, that's right.
So the next morning, Odo, having practiced.
Well, I will also just wanted to make a point. I didn't say it on the stream, but I'm going to say it now. Everybody, there was a few people who thought it was a little weird and creepy how much they talk about Odo's hands in here. And I would say to those friends, you don't have any friends who are piano players, do you? Because everybody wants to touch their hands and look at their hands, and the hands thing is weird with piano players. It's just what it is. There's magic in them.
Yeah, well, as a piano player, my hands are mangled up all the hell of the place. Like my piano player hands are like a ballerina's feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you
think they're magical.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
They're so magical, and like they're the hottest people in the world. Their feet,
not so much. Yeah,
not good. Not good.
It's like a war zone up in there.
It is a war zone, yeah. And my hands are a war zone, not because of my piano playing, but because of my playing sports like an idiot. So, yeah. So the implication here is interesting. Like Odo just like went and banged a bunch of hologram ladies.
No, he does not. I think he sends them out. No, what's weird about this scene is that when he says to the lady, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not interested," or whatever. What's his buck? Oh no, that's the scene with the hologram Kira when he runs out, and I'm like, "Wow, so you were just in the other room listening?"
Of course, Vic's watching the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I guess whatever your.
But
thing
like
is.
they go, see, like they says we got to go out, so that they go out clubbing. So like I think the implication here.
I think it's okay. I don't think.
Write it and say.
I think you can bang a hologram. It's cool.
I mean, that's the dream, right? Like, why else have a holodeck? But yeah,
the dream is like to have a real person. But I mean, as a secondary, yeah.
Nah, I'm fine with it. So anyway, the next morning, Odo having practiced, he's in a good mood in Cisco's office.
Love this scene.
He is even unconsciously humming "You Can't Take That Away From Me." Cisco is delighted. And I think a lot of Cisco's delight is Avery's delight. And sings along. And it's cute. And though I did write, for two accomplished musicians, you'd think they could find the beat.
Well, every time somebody snaps in one of these shows, you're like, "Nope, there was no playback on set."
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. It's pretty funny. But I think it's also, it makes more sense for the character.
Yeah.
Like, the actors are musicians, but the characters aren't. But I thought it was really delightful to see their dynamic there.
Delightful. And we'll see another scene coming up soon. What I love so much is, at this point, there's no snark. Every one of his colleagues is rooting for him.
100%. 100%. And I love that. So, in the turbolift, Bashir and Dax gossip about Kira and Shakar. Apparently, Kira's staying on Bajor for 2 more days. And we take some inferences there. Don't turn out to be right. Dax knows what's up, but Bashir is clueless. Odo goes back to Vic's and plays the piano some more, but now he's sad and moody again. And Odo says, "You still haven't told me what I'm supposed to do about Kira and Shakar." And Vic says, "You've been coming here every night for a week. Have I steered you wrong? No? Then trust your Uncle Vic." To which he summons a singer. It's Kira! Or a hologram that looks like her. And she sings a very respectable Fever. And as I mentioned before, yes, it is indeed Nana singing. Odo plays along, sort of, and enjoys it immensely
now,
as
Keith,
she flirts with him. Yes.
I might have scoffed before, but let me just for the record clear this up in case anyone's listening upstairs. If they make this holodeck program, this one here,
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
You're gonna buy the hologram?
I mean, I'm into this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like
I mean, who wouldn't?
Halakira singing at me? Fever? Yeah, I'm in.
Anyway, in Act 3...
I love when you listen to this podcast and you hear Keith say anyway, you can assume there was a 6-minute runner before that.
Yeah, exactly. So in Act 3, after the gig, Odo and fake Kira have a date. She's enamored with him, but Odo can't do it, because it's weird to bang holograms of your friends or even your crushes, which I think is fair. Because, again, I know you can talk about consent another way, but like this, we've talked about this a little bit before about sort of holodeck ethics, that making out with a fake version of one of your friends, it's kind of like a deep fake, right?
Yeah. Especially because they don't know what's happened, like they're not in on it or anything.
Right. Like Kira didn't be like, yeah, okay, go practice on my hologram, right?
Yeah, but there are lines, like you said, because there's plenty of that, like in a lot of the spy things that Bashir and O'Brien are doing. There are versions of the other crew playing parts that they're not particularly giving consent to. So like it's like,
well, but that only happened as a result of a transporter accident.
I guess there's a difference. What I'm saying is between Keith, you making all of your friends the players in your Madden game versus you making out with me as a hologram.
Pass. But yeah, I definitely feel like we're getting into some squishy ethical territory here. But to Odo's credit, he's like, no, we can't do this. And Vic says, I thought you were getting along just fine. And Odo says, of course we are. You've programmed her to find me irresistible. If I read her criminal activities report, she'd think it was poetry. Vic explains that he got Kira's image from Bashir's James Bond program, and it took an hour to get rid of the Russian accent. Funny, I love the little Easter egg there. However, that part is funny. I think Vic's casual sexism, less funny. But it is era accurate. But like his whole shtick is pretty sexist.
Yes. But he's a hologram, like you said. He's got a very defined set of source
it is
material.
Accurate to the era. It is accurate to like the Rat Packy kind of dialogue. But I think if they aired it today, they would at least address it. And later on, we are going to address a little bit of the problems with that era, which I really appreciate. But we could have used just one little couplet there, like, dude. Anyway, Odo leaves, and he says, I'm sorry, but I'm tired of discussing my feelings with a hologram.
That reminds me, there's a line earlier with something about, I think they're saying it to Bashir, where they're like, stop asking advice from a light bulb. I thought that was a great line. That was earlier, really, in that first scene in the teaser.
Yeah, well, I'm a light bulb, not a doctor. So back in the real world, real Kira bumps into Odo to catch up. Odo is naturally awkward and runs off. Later, Kira is in the holosuite praying in a room full of candles when Vic enters. Apparently the Bajoran shrine was booked out for
an event.
An event, a concert of some sort.
Dick whistle?
A Dick Whistle concert, naturally. And then Vic enters, and he says, hey, dull face, are you asleep? How the hell did you get in here? I'm performing next door for Dax and Worf.
Maybe the best technobabble ever given on a Star Trek episode. Because it was a question everybody had. Like, how the hell did you get here? And they're like, we have a good answer.
Yeah. Oh, and I love Vic's agency. through again, unintended consequences of making your hologram self-aware is you give them agency. And he's hacking the systems, and he's like rewriting his own hologram program. It's really fun.
Yeah, I was like, what if I made a fun like chat bot for our podcast, right? And like it would like chat GPT us funny quips based on whatever screenshot we were looking at. All fun and games until it secretly makes you a Match.com profile.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And starts booking dates.
Exactly. It's all of a sudden it's swiping right on my Bumble.
Yeah.
I don't swipe right. It doesn't matter.
It's deep faking some dick whistle pics and sending them out. Viva!
Viva! All right. So so he transferred
stupid.
his matrix from that holosuite to this one. And he explains that he and Odo have been hanging out. Here's Odo spending time in the holosuite and loving it. I'm sorry, but that's not the Odo I know. Which tells you what? You don't know him as well as you think you do. He's not the same stuck in the mud. He's not the same stick in the mud anymore. The cat can swing. Are you sure you're talking about the same Odo? The one and only. But let me tell you, the only chick he wants to swing with is you. I take that's a good thing? It's love, baby. Nothing better than that. She tries to get him to leave, but he's got an ask. He's asking her
He wants
out
to swing with them next episode is what
I mean, he's like, hey, you got room? You got room for a light bulb. But he's asking her out to dinner to the holosuite on Odo's behalf. He like literally passed her a note in class. But importantly, she says yes, which is fantastic.
Okay, so hold on.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
adjusting. We'll get to it in a second, but I forgot that part. Like, because I kept reading their meet cute or meet awkward as a double deceit, but in reality, she's on the up and up,
Yeah,
right? She just doesn't know that he doesn't know. So there is
Right.
deceit there. Yeah.
right. The deceit, exactly. The deceit is she doesn't know that he thinks she's a hologram. But the operative thing there is like she agrees to go out on the date,
Right.
which is awesome. So in Act 4, Odo is stressing in his office when Vic calls him over the comm. I need to talk to you. I want you to come to the holosuite tonight. Why? I've done a complete overhaul on the Lola hologram. I'm telling you, Odo, she's gonna think she's the real thing. She walks like Kira, she talks like Kira. And he says, come on over. So we cut to the date. At Vic's, Odo is wearing a tuxedo and Kira is in a red dress. Odo, of course, thinks Kira is a hologram. It's sort of a half Cyrano, and I thought in a lot of ways this plays a bit like a Shakespearean comedy.
Exactly. I exactly say the same thing. Yeah, it's very Shakespearean.
Which is fun. So Vic serves as the waiter, and Kira says it's all very interesting, but don't you feel a little silly being here in the holosuite? A bit. Odo dazzles her with one word in French, and he is direct and clear with his intentions. And he says, I've always wondered what this would be like. You mean the two of us having dinner together? This isn't quite the way I pictured it would be. And Kira, which I love this beat for Kira, admits she's a little nervous. And this surprises Odo. I mean, she says it's a first date, right? Right?
I will say that, so Anne in the chat and a couple other people in the chat and myself, this scene made us incredibly uncomfortable. Like just
Really?
Yeah, just really uncomfortable. And I think I can't tell if it's just because and this is what I was talking about, like it's our sort of social anxiety for them or for
Sure.
him, but also for a few moments at the top here, for myself, I'll speak. He's being direct and clear, but there's an affectation to it that feels a little too Vic for me, right? When he eventually, like I think in the next scene or in the conclusion scene, he's Odo being direct and clear, which leads to the big scene. But here there's a little bit of like.
Do you think it's because he comes off a little cocky, which
No,
makes
the
him look a
cockiness,
little
like,
creepy?
he comes across a little forward sexually, I feel like. Makes it feel a little like it's not explicit, but I don't know. He's
Definitely
putting a
giving
stink
off,
on it. You know what I mean?
he is like he's playing the video game in easy mode, so he's
Yeah.
like, haha,
Yes.
I can kill anyone. That sort of a thing.
And I
Yeah,
guess because we know that she's hearing that, and I'm just like, and we're so, I think, I don't know if this is super woke, but I'm so attuned now to like picking up like bad predatory vibes. It's not that bad, but like those hairs start to tingle, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I'm with you a little bit. Like, it doesn't feel like Odo. It doesn't feel like a confident version of Odo. It feels like Odo play acting a confident person.
Which, to be fair, is probably he feels safe doing so inside of a video game, right?
Right. Because like, you know, if
we're
I
playing
was
GTA,
the person I am in Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
I should go to prison.
Right. So, but nonetheless, whatever the intention, right? There was a skeeve factor. A couple of us were feeling.
I see it. I agree. I agree. Like I think it's I think it's part like the video gamey, like there are no stakes here. I can do whatever I want. But I also think there's still a bit of Odo fronting, right? He's like he's still play acting what he thinks the right thing to do. I think you're right. I think he's picking up on Vic's energy.
The point I made on the stream, and this, I'm going to divorce this from Odo. This is not what I saw happen here, but it was an interesting thing that it sprung in my brain, a realization, like a big bold letters, cis white guy realization. Recognize your privilege.
Yeah.
I feel bad for women or little girls because the line between traditional movie star romantic leading man behavior and straight perv creep is very, very thin.
For sure. And actually, like contemporary romantic whatever leads would never play a scene like this. This is much more 50s, 60s, 70s romantic era lead, which has that sense of I don't think it's perviness, but I think there is a sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
A sense of like power, like I have the power in this situation while I'm wooing you, as opposed to you have the power and I'm auditioning for you.
Yeah, like the whole James Bond. Yeah, we always think James Bond's super cool, super spy. Like, and the women fall for him, and why? And of course, wouldn't you? Blah blah blah. But like you said, there's this assumption, right? And the power dynamic is kind of messed up, and that's kind of what we show to people. That's like that's what our whole culture is built on, and it's kind of messed up.
It's complicated because like I overcompensate the other way around. Like Odo does in real life, where he's just like so feels like the power dynamic is so overpowered in the other way. I'm like, oh, please don't make eye contact with me, as you know. And this is like over tilting, as opposed to just like being
prudish
there and making eye contact and having a conversation with somebody.
Not to be prudish. Obviously, your sexuality is present how you want to present. I'm just saying it's the whole sort of paradigm we've built is bizarre.
I agree with you, and I agree that the scene is uncomfortable for that reason and just for the social anxiety.
The way they dig out of it, I think, is super successful, right? Like once we find out the deceit, which you're coming to.
Yeah.
And he does have moments of clarity. Go ahead, read your thing.
Yeah. So anyway, they have this, this conversation, and Odo is still thinking she's a hologram and is surprised by how detailed Kira's knowledge is. But Kira says, I thought the only thing you enjoyed was your work. How'd you know that? You told me yourself. Well done, Vic. Vic, never mind. I do enjoy my work, but I'm afraid I've used it as an excuse to avoid the rest of my life. I know the feeling. So, like, that didn't feel predatory. That's very honest.
Great,
that's very... That's
like
very
I said, it's just
open.
those first few minutes.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I'm with you. Vic, of course, knows this is the time to start singing I've Got You Under My Skin.
And maybe get some candles that are sticking straight up, because those are going to fall.
Those are a fire hazard. Yeah. Vic, they stare at each other. And Nana and Renee may have had misgivings, but at least once we get here, they're both selling the crap out of it.
I was saying, like, despite all the dialogue and despite the, like, we can go back and forth, but one thing I will stand by, dance is very intoxicating, very romantic, and I think leading, and there's a I'm sorry, it sounds we're so woke, Keith. there's this tacit or built-in acceptance, consent, and then there's leading. It's a whole discussion language. It's beautiful, and I think that does so much of the heavy lifting here, and like where any trepidation I had, the second they start dancing, I'm like, I'm in.
Well, that's where the chemistry really does click in. Now, of course, you say that I hate dance. I hate dancing. It's uncomfortable. It's weird. I hate leading.
Yeah, I don't. But
I literally dated for a long time a national champion ballroom dancer.
So I've been married. This will be my 11th anniversary next month.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Crazy kids.
My wife and I have never successfully slow danced. She laughs every time. Either she can't take it seriously, or she can't take me being seriously.
Yeah,
something about it, everything about it is comical to her, and I find it very cute and a little maddening.
I'm trying to be sexy, honey.
Or I'm trying to be remotely romantic, and she just can't handle it.
Yeah, well, you know, your entire persona is a little tongue-in-cheek. Like,
yeah, you're right.
Like, turn on the jets. Hey, it's like, you know,
stick a quarter in the bed. Let's do this thing.
I'm old. Bed's got to do most of the work.
I'm to my wife's, to Keith's point, and to my wife's abject embarrassment that I'm going to say this on the internet. There has not been one time, maybe multiple times, that in preparation for sexy time, I may have said the words, "Let's rock and roll." I'm not proud of it. But, you know, just Viva! Baby, when we're crying. Should I have...
Now, if you ever say that on this show, I quit.
Let's rock and roll?
Let's rock and roll.
But Keith, I wanted to say one other thing.
Jesus.
Speaking of dance partners, there is one dance partner that does not laugh at me when I dance.
Yes! That is the true romance of this
time.
episode. That's an amazing shot.
Yeah, that's very cute.
Well done. Very cute. Thank you for decreeping it.
Fina! Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
She's gonna freaking kill me.
I'm 45.
Almost.
The pill's kicking in. I've balanced it with my Lipitor and my heart medication.
We got 4 hours.
We got 4 hours before my heart explodes or something else explodes. Let's rock and roll.
Keith's on the dick whistle. I'm on that dick guitar. What's happening?
We're never
right
taking
now?
a week off again.
No.
We need to be beaten down a little bit.
Yeah.
So they dance. And she is shocked and delighted by this new Odo. She mentions expecting to have had their first date somewhere other than the holosuite, but Odo naturally doesn't think it's possible. And, of course, this is when Vic reveals the truth. Kira is real. He tricked them both. And, of course, they're both naturally furious. And Odo takes it all back. The entire thing in 3 words, which I think is just such good writing. He looks at her, he says, Nerys, Kira, Major. So in those 3 words, he demotes their relationship 3 times, which is And that's all we need. That's all we need. Him like going back into the turtle shell and removing layers of intimacy by working his way up the chain of titles. It's great.
It's great, and it's like a perfect microcosm of how we operate as human beings, because he's already there. They've climbed up. It's really her. He's really said those things. She really has there's chemistry. It's all there. But we as people, in our stupid brain noggins, can take it away.
Right, abort, eject.
Yep, we can just assume, we can just emotionally remove ourselves from a situation that...
Well, he can't grapple with the idea that she might be into this. And I get it, totally. Again, completely identify with Odo here, other than the pervy parts. So, in Act 5, later...
Well, and just what shame and embarrassment. What that self-sabotage, the sabotage that lives within shame is one of our greatest foes.
Yeah. He's literally running away in demotion of intimacy of names. So in Act 5...
Vic has a great line in the last scene about that. I'm sure you wrote it down.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Vic calls Odo in his office again. You should have told me it was really Kira. Would you have shown up if I did? I didn't hear an answer, Pally. If you think about it, there's not much to be mad about. I saw the way she looked at you while you were dancing. The lady digs you big time. On the promenade, Kira and Dax discuss. Kira has had a moment of clarity. And Dax says, Nerys, total clarity is a very rare thing. When it comes, it's important that you act on it. Because believe me, confusion and doubt will take over before you know it. More good best friend advice. We've had Quark give some good advice, Dax gives some good advice. Kira sees Odo across the promenade and has another moment. She chases him down. He tries to pretend that nothing happened, but she's not having it. And she asks him out. And she tells him that she and Shakar are just friends. So they have an extended Sam and Diane argument, ending in the kiss. Right in the middle of the crowded promenade in front of everyone. And they make out for a long time in front of a very expensive room full of extras.
The great beat of one of Quark's waiters drops a tray.
And of course, behind the scenes, they realize this is a problem because his makeup rubbed off all over her face. So they kind of only got one take, one application.
And then they take the ears off and sell them on eBay.
That's right. Are those the ears I have back here? I don't know.
Ripped off in a feat of passion?
Did those ears kiss Kira? Ha ha. So,
yeah,
later,
I blew me away. Did not expect it.
Yeah.
Thought it was handled perfectly.
Let's talk about the moment.
I was looking for, I thought we were going to get like the chasing through the airport scene, cut to black, like another episode, like to Sam and Diane it, right? But no, here they go. We get it. It was awesome. I celebrated.
See, all right. So now we have gone on this whole you know what? Let's talk about it in stumbles. So later, Vic is performing and Odo comes to visit, and Vic says, "Julian tells me you and the Major are quite an item for the moment, but who knows how long it will last. Odo's gonna be Odo." But Odo thanks Vic for all of his help.
No, that's where Vic's best line. He goes,
"Oh yeah, that's my Odo. Always ready to turn victory into defeat."
Yeah, great line.
As my father would say, always able to clutch
victory
from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Vic says, "Hey, do me a favor. Leave the program running for a few minutes after you leave. I feel like singing." And Odo says, "Whatever makes you happy."
Yeah, it's
and
basically Midsummer's Night, right? And he's Puck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Vic launches into a prize of "Come Fly With Me," and he sings it almost directly into the camera.
I noticed that, yeah.
And what I love here is we have given this hologram agency and self-awareness, and now Odo is literally giving him a moment of life. A moment of actual existence and actual life to celebrate what he did here, which is really sweet. really heartfelt to like let him sing his song because that's what he wants to
So
do.
it actually, on occasion, Keith, I will, in some of these big open world games, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. It takes place in feudal Japan. It's absolutely beautiful and stunning. Sometimes I'll get on top of this like waypoint, right? Where there's just like sprawling nature out ahead of me. And I'll just leave it on my TV. I'll leave the controller down and I'll just leave it run and watch the weather patterns go and the seasons change, the night and day.
Yeah.
And that's basically what's happening here, right? He's just leaving it, letting the AI live.
Letting it do its thing. I do that with Red Dead sometimes.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah. Gorgeous. All right. Let's do the AlamarEmmys.
AlamarEmmys, there was more. AlamarEmmys, it's AlamarEmmys time.
Wow.
It's like
Wow.
Christmas every week.
It's some sort of a holiday or memorial.
Oh man. Well, I mean, the kiss is big, right? It's like it's a big moment. It also opens up a lot of like the Dax Wharf thing we can see through, but are we gonna see this through? Well, we'll see.
No, we're gonna find out.
But for me, Keith, I think it's the small moments. I think it's the moment where Avery and Odo are just humming along, and it sort of captures the whimsy of the episode, but also I think this is I might be there's a friend I have a friend who is exploring polyamory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was trying to explain to me this term, and I don't know if it's an actual term or if it's one but it's called compersion. Have I mentioned this before?
No.
And basically it's this is very abstracted, but so like a lot of times if you're in a monogamous relationship and someone or your partner has interest romantically in someone else, there's a lot of the jealousy is kind of the major.
Sure.
But compersion is sort of, if I'm in a polyamorous relationship, it might exist outside of this context as well. This is just how I heard it. And one of my partners finds another romantic partner that is pleasing them that is not part of my circle.
Okay.
I still feel happy for them, right? Because and that feeling of like happiness for another person in this state is called compersion, right?
Oh,
and
interesting.
That shared happiness for Odo and like in that moment with Avery, like that he's found some levity and that he's enjoying himself, and just Avery as a friend like enjoying it with him is, I don't know, it's just beautiful. It tells a story in its own right. That whole scene is just kind of wonderful. So that's my best moment.
Yeah. I like it. I think that them singing together is so intimate, and I think that's it's sort of beautiful in its intimacy of like dudes singing together in sort of a casual hummy kind of a way. Like it is like it's really fun, and it really speaks a lot about their relationship, which I very much enjoy. For me, the best moment is actually that last beat where he lets Vic continue singing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, the level of respect you're giving to this hologram who has become self-aware, who has helped you, and treating him as a person and allowing, it's allowing the video game to play for its own sake. Which I think is really interesting and I think valuable. So that's, obviously the big kiss in the relationship and the moving forward, whatever. But I think that just, we both isolated little moments of grace within this love story that are actually not part of the love story. But I think it's interesting. Let's hand out some stem bolts.
You get some stem bolts. Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stem bolts for you.
So yeah, I mean, at its level, yes, there's a huge kind of development at the end, but it's really just, like you said, a musical episode, good times, a little meet cute, a little midsummer, a little rom-com, a little traditional sitcom. It has some very traditional sitcom beats. But like you said, there's some wonderful moments of grace. And what we've highlighted many times in recent episodes is that if you watch this episode, if this was the first episode of Deep Space Nine you ever showed me, there's something to take from it. You know, it's got some great moments and can be enjoyed. However, the relationships between the characters, and not just the relationships between the characters, but the journey to get there would be completely lost. The fact that we're all rooting for this romance throughout the episode. No one is giving him the alternate take. No one is being pessimistic except himself. The fact that no one is even bringing up any sort of aversion to this AI, which is ostensibly they all defer to. Oh yeah, right. It's really cool. You should listen to him. We're all getting advice from him. So
right,
it's you don't recognize that that's special unless you've gone on the whole trip, right?
Yeah.
And that's how this episode feels, very special. Every moment, and I gotta the guest performance here. Does he come back, by the way?
I'm not gonna tell you that.
He must, because it's too good. Whether they intended for him to come back or not, I'm guarantee you after this episode aired or after they worked with him, they're like, oh yeah, we got to do another one because he's so good. In this particular role, I don't want to speak outside. I mean, he does this. He gives very tropey dialogue, very naturally. It feels good. It feels right. It stands up. You know, the musical performances are excellent.
They're great.
They are not just there to satisfy the rights agreement. They tell little stories. They're little music videos.
Like you could make an album out of this.
You even get a little Avery Brooks in there. There's not much I mean, there's nothing I didn't like. I mean, there's that moment of awkwardness, but it's supposed to be awkward because I know they don't know. When are they going to find out?
Right.
You know, it's butted up against last week. You're like, okay, so yeah, it doesn't have the gravity, right? It's not like the stakes are that high, but ultimately, I mean, the relationship is, and we've built to this. We've been waiting to get here. I don't know, man. I'm trying to talk myself off the ledge of being hyperbolic, but
don't be on the ledge. Be hyperbolic, Betty.
Yeah, man. But I'm gonna just, you know what? I'm not gonna second guess myself. I'm gonna stick with my feelings, Keith. That's what this episode taught me, and I'm gonna sing 94 self-sealing stem volts.
Yes.
Fever.
So yeah, I wanted to sort of ask, like, now that we've, you know, completed or at least opened up the next chapter in Odo Kira, now that we've spent so much time getting here through Children of Time, where Kira first finds out about it, we find, you know, remember the scene or the episode in the cave where the changeling pretended to be Kira, and Odo first admitted that, and all of that, like, how did you feel? How do you feel about this storyline, this whole thing?
I felt great for them. I loved the way they handled it. I love that technique of having two people arguing, back and forth, and we're making out.
So cheers. Yeah.
Very exactly cheers. How I feel about it, I've never been 100% in on it because, I don't know, their natural chemistry as characters doesn't read to me. But also, I don't know if it's like Odo looks old. I don't know what
the age gap is.
Yeah, that's like
noticeable.
That stands in the way a bit. But also, there's this other element of I feel secure about Dax and Worf in a way that I think to myself, they can't maintain two crew relationships. That's such heavy lifting to go forward. So is this one going to end in tragedy? Is this one going to end in? Are they going to kill? Like, it could go, they could end it a lot of ways that would be really sad. It could also just be, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. But what I love that they do is they gave us a cool little out in that the way, the delivery where there's a confidence and a relaxation in the way that Renee delivers the line when he says, who knows how long it'll last, right? Yeah. It isn't, I know that he comes back with the quip about don't be defeated or whatever, but it didn't come from that place. It came from like, I'm going to enjoy it. The journey was the friends we made along the way kind of vibe. I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm satisfied right now, and there's nothing better than that, right? It's kind of like I just had a great meal. They asked if I want dessert, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good right now. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have diarrhea tomorrow.
It's quite possible. Because I remember the first time I saw this, and I was surprised to be rooting for them. Surprised to be I was a slow turn on this, and I wasn't a slow turn on Odo's feelings for Kira. I was a slow turn on whether or not it should be requited. And but now that we're here, I'm delighted.
Yeah.
I love, and let me just say this.
Well, they also kind of had to, right? They've dropped so many breadcrumbs. Like, what were you going to do?
Yeah, they had to resolve this in some fashion. And I'll say this, and Mike will attest. I usually hate the romance stories. On The Practice, we did 8 seasons of The Practice, and anytime it was talking about who was hooking up with who and who was in love with who, I couldn't care less.
Which is
It's
sort
a
of
legal
what
drama.
those things
Just
are all about.
Show me the legal drama. I don't care who Bobby's sleeping with, right? But this feels earned to me. I'm invested in this. I care about this. I care about these people. And obviously, as I said, I identify with Odo so much. It's really, I don't know, it's like a little souffle. And I love Vic. I love the musical numbers. Like, all of a sudden, Deep Space Nine's a musical? Okay. Awesome. What did you say a couple of weeks ago? You were like, have we introduced all the things yet?
Yeah, right.
Do we know everybody and everything? And like, did you expect to be a musical episode coming up next?
I know there's still action figures that you told me I couldn't even look at. You're like, don't look at that side of the screen. So there's still crazy.
And like to add this layer at this point in the series, at this point, both the love story and adding music to it, and like, who'd have thought you had another ingredient in this Deep Space Nine souffle?
The other thing that still blows my mind, and I'll make a much bigger point about this when we get to the end of the journey, Keith, at the end of the rainbow. But it's not just that I didn't watch Deep Space Nine. It's not just that I wasn't super into Trek. It's not even that I was able to remain spoiler-free. That is blowing my mind. It's that everyone sleeps on this show. You don't hear it in any conversation of any discussion of any sci-fi medium. I've never heard it even talked about other than the few times I mention I do this podcast and people are like, oh yeah, I think I watched some of that. Or, hey, did you get to that? And I go, stop. Don't say anything else. But outside of that, I've never even heard it talked about. It's crazy to me that our culture slept on such a great series. As long as they stick the landing.
It's finally getting its love now.
Yeah, because of this podcast.
It's catching, obviously, because of this podcast and no other podcasts. But yeah, I mean, I love this. I think I'm happy for them.
Keith, do they land the plane? Just tell me.
I can't tell you that.
Man, are they just gonna quantum leap me and leave Sam out, just quantum leaping for the rest of the time?
All right, it's not. I don't think it's a spoiler, Mike. You're damn right they'll land the plane. So,
and they never made another podcast.
That's it. Yeah, I also thought, and I promise we've been going for like, I don't know,
7
4
days
hours now.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think they were really smart in the time period and the music they chose.
Wait, did you give a number? Oh, you're still going.
Not yet.
Okay.
The music that they chose, it being classic American songbook that was already out of its time in the 90s, it gives it a timeless quality that had they done this like 90s music, they're like, did like a Kurt Cobain, yeah man, it's all good.
No, it would have been Michael Bolton at this point.
Michael Bolton.
When a man loves a woman.
Oh my God! Now I want to see the
Michael Bolton cut
version of this episode.
Or like Kenny G back there,
Oh my God! Dick Whistle Kenny G.
Oh my goodness, we could recut this.
Oh, Kenny D. All right. Anyway, obviously, I find this episode delightful. I love it. It's great. It's a musical. It's wonderful. 92 stealing bolts for me. In the real world, people aren't quite as high on it. It's a 7.5, which is an 87 out of 173 episodes. I mean, everybody else, I'm curious what you all think, whether you liked it as much as we did or whether you have problems. Spoiler-free problems, please. Next week, we are talking about The Reckoning. Another banger. Season 6, man. Woo! Season 6. Awesome. All right, so if you haven't already, give us a like and a subscribe. Leave your comments below. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/K&M. We'll be back here next week with The Reckoning. Thank you for sticking through this ridiculously long episode.
Should we do a movie soon? Is it movie time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or an AME and all the above. Yeah, we owe the patrons lots of stuff. So we should talk about that. All right. Till then, this has been Keith and Mike. Watch Deep Space Nine. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.
Can't keep his mind on nothing else. I just until I rug burned my dick off.